Hello and welcome to Hadoop Exam Learning Resources. In this session, we will be considering Domain-2 for AWS Certified Sysops Administrator, that is reliability and business continuity. So let's go and understand what exactly it means. So this is the main purpose here is like your system should not fail any time, any moment. If it fails, it should auto recover itself. But user who is the consumer side should not realize that your system got failed. So that is the overall purpose in this domain. So what things are covered here? So let's say if I say here your question on this domain around 16% are from this in this AWS Sysops certification. So scale, you need to able to scale your system, like for example EC2 instances, correct? If load increases on your web application, you must able to increase number of EC2 instances in your environment, so that the user will not realize like there is a more load on the system and I'm not able to perform the operation. So that is way you should be able to scale up as well as scale down. To reduce the cost, you have to scale down as well. So as soon as your load decreases, you should be able to terminate your EC2 instances which are no more needed. So that kind of knowledge you need to know. So I'm just explaining here about EC2 service, but there are many such services which where you need to keep this stuff in mind, correct? During this work, there should not be any human intervention. It should be scale up and scale down automatically based on the matrix you have in previous domain we learned, correct? Alarms and on that. Operate independently. So no involvement of human. It should work independently. So operate independently. Elastic architecture, which should be loosely coupled. All services should be like not tightly coupled, kind of thing. One service is okay. So it should be operate independently, elastic in nature, which should be loosely coupled. You know what exactly mean for loosely coupled. Now network traffic management inside VPC, you should be knowing. So VPC is the service which every certification would cover in AWS, correct? So that is the basic where you should be starting. VPC and CIDR notifications, etc. You should be knowing EC2, S3. These are very common services which in every certification you would see. Now caching. So there are various ways you can cache your data. Like in Amazon, there are dedicated service for that is Redis and Memcache. There are two type patterns of the caching, but people sometimes use DynamoDB as well for caching, which is not recommended options. Kind of thing. The caching should be like done through Memcache and Redis solution. DNS, you should able to configure DNS using Route 53. Plan for failure and do not fail at all, correct? So your system should not fail at all when you are working for this enterprise architecture. Recover and restore. Yes, there are still possibility of your system can go and fail, or some hacking or something can be done initially when you set up until you realize like your system is security proof or not, kind of thing. So you must be able to restore from your backups. So you should know how to do the backups and how to restore those backups without any delay. Now let's talk about the reliability and business continuity. So in this we have three subdomain, that is must be able to implement scalability and elasticity, implement high availability and resilient environments, implement backup and restore strategy. So in the first subdomain, implement scalability and elasticity, we discuss you should be able to auto scale your system, implement caching like to for faster data retrieval. You should know the how Amazon managed database works, that is RDS service, where you have to read replicas and other stuff with how to promote that read replicas at the primary replica, then Amazon Aurora replicas, how that work, where it should be deployed and kind of thing. implement loosely coupled architecture, differentiate between horizontal scaling and vertical scaling. If you don't know, we'll cover that part, but horizontal scaling is increasing number of the service instance. Vertical means like increasing the capacity of the one particular instance, like by increasing memory or IOs or network capabilities, CPUs, etc. if you are talking about EC2. So again, in depth about implementing stability and elasticity in this EC2 instances auto scalability, you must know how this works. Okay, how to auto scale option works in different situations. Like scale means like scale up and scale down, both you should be knowing. Correct. Now then, caching is the next part. This is one of the best way for maintaining data availability quickly. So it's like again region specific, geography also involved here. So in which geography what data should be available and how quickly, and you should not cache your entire data. Only frequently accessed data should be cached. So you should know how and how to differentiate this frequently accessed data. Then AWS Elastic Cache is the solution for this. Memcache and Redis approach, these two are available. We have faced some like open source solution for this Memcache and Redis approach, how to implement in Java, C++, C Sharp kind of thing. So this kind of problem still exists. No very easy solutions is available. So whatever AWS provide, you have to use it. Amazon CloudFront, like this is like object how quickly site specifically is applicable to the your videos, images, file, audio files, how you can make it available in based on the geography easily. So you need to cache on various location on the geolocation this objects. Then when do you want to expire your object? Then DynamoDB accelerator you should know. Okay, so these are the names I'm suggesting, but which you need to go through basically when you start preparing for this. Correct, you should know the relational data storage. Like this is the solution for AWS managed database services. So like you have been working with MySQL database and everything, correct? So how do you get this as a RDS? So this is managed by AWS itself. So using few clicks, you should be able to initiate new database solution for your requirement, and this is managed by AWS. But still, you need to know how to manage those stuff and how to backup, recovery, snapshot, various stuff you should know about this RDS. Which database support multi-region strategy and loosely coupled architecture where Aurora can be deployed, etc. You should know. System should be able to scale independently without even coordinating with other tiers. Like then scaling up and scaling out, we have already discussed, so you should be knowing this. Now, like second subdomain of this is like highest availability and resilient environments is like elastic load balancer. You should know how this works, how to use this. Then Amazon Route 53 health checks. Health checks help you to like load balancer to route particular request on particular instance or particular service. So that is what you need to know. Differentiate between the single availability zone, multi availability zone deployments. Amazon EC2 auto scaling, like which works in the groups, elastic load balancer, Amazon FSx, Amazon RDS. We discuss fault tolerant workloads, elastic file system, elastic IP addresses, implement Route 53 policies, etc. You should know like there are various policies for failover policies, weighted average policies, latency based policies. So as you see, we will not be going on each service in detail as of now. This is more of a, like what should be covered as part of this certification and what service you should know, what concept you should learn. So we will try to cover in later session in more detailed one basically, but this is more of like what exactly you should be aware about this AWS Sysops certification. So because you can focus on particular area when you are preparing for this certification rather than like reading everything, which is impossible. Basically, it's a huge domain to learn, correct? So AWS itself is a wide huge. So you can't become expert on everything. So you need to focus on specific area which you want to become an expert. Now next is in this subdomain itself, like health checks. You should know how to do the health checks of the load balancer, health checks for the route 53, multi-agent deployment health checks, multi availability zone auto scaling, how to do the health check of your RDAs, EFS, FSX, etc. Fault tolerant workload issue or system, any single component fail, then you need to notify, like using SQS, SNS, then DynamoDB, EFS, S3, and other regional services. Anything can fail, so you should know like how to uh, handle it automatically, basically, correct, without human intervention. So routing policies we discuss. Certainly you will get a question on that. Keep the note. There would be routing policy based on failover and latency based, and what kind of policies you should use, that based on the scenario they will ask question. Okay, so just remember that stuff. Now subdomain 3 is implement backup and store strategies. Look, we discuss about this like RDS, correct, which you should know how to take a backup on regularly. Like there is the concept of snapshots comes into the picture. So every some 1 hour you would take a snapshot, correct, and incremental snapshots, so to reduce the storage, like the cost is also metric, correct. So you should not snap entire database. Like it's just the incremental snap you should be doing, and once you enable it, you should be able to like recover it, kind of thing, when it is fails or something, and recovery required. Like for example, if somebody by mistake do the drop table, correct, any developer in production, which is obviously as unexpected, how somebody can do that, correct? But it can happen. All are humans, basically, correct? So then RDS snapshot would help you to recover from your previous version, kind of thing. Then how to take AWS backup, how this S3 or object lifecycle work, RTO, RPO, like some companies have RTO of 2 hours based on application, so you should be recover yourself within 2 hours. Amazon Data Lifecycle Manager, retention policies, restore database point in time stored. Like let's say I'm on 31st July 2021 right now, and I wanted to go back to my 30th July database at midnight. I should be able to do that, correct? So that is called point in time restore. Promote read replica. So there are read replica. This is the purpose of the only for reading data from this replica. But you should be able to like in case of your primary replica goes uh, bad, then your read replicas has entire data, correct? You should be able to promote that read replica as a primary replica. That is what expected. Implement versioning and lifecycle rules, correct? So like if you actually keep changing your object, so there should be multiple version of that object. So whatever version you wanted to go back, it should be able to go back, like v1, v2, v3. If you are creating those version, and if you want to go for v2 version, you should be able to go that. um, so this is mostly applicable for the objects. Then S3 cross region replication. So S3 is initially, if you see, like it is available only for one region, basically, correct. Like I'm saying, like storage perspective, this by default is on one region, but if you wanted this bucket should be available on other regions, should be like for failover perspective, you can enable cross region replication. So if entire bucket goes deleted or something goes wrong, you should be able to replicate on other region. Execute disaster recovery procedure. So entire availability zone can crash, correct? That is what Amazon says. So you should plan, you should like your RTO is 2 hours, then you should be able to move different availability zone within 2 hours, or it can should happen within it should be happening automatically rather than basically manual one, correct? So that is one. Then implement backup and restore strategy. So like as we have discussed, like correct, you should be able to restore point in time database versioning. So I'll not go in details again because the same thing I already discussed. Okay, so then warm standby architectures, etc. So these are all things you should be knowing this basically for this domain. So now we have covered two domains. First domain was 20% coverage. Now this domain is 16% coverage. So if you know this stuff, then 36% of the knowledge, exam preparation is already done basically. Right? So that way you need to prepare it. So like you need to focus on particular domain and start preparing like what needs to be asked on that. So that's all about this certification domain 2 as of now, kind of thing. Will be recording for rest of the domain. So thanks for watching. If you are watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe it. I'm stopping. Thank you.